High school sports fans, are you following Varsity Media on our YouTube channel? For the best coverage of New York high school sports, make sure you head to youtube.com/varsitymedia. 3 easy steps. First, hit that like button, and then be sure to subscribe. And finally, tap that yellow bell to be notified of all of our upcoming sportscasts. Thank you for following Varsity Media on YouTube.
Hey sports fans, did you know Varsity Media live stream broadcasts get viewed by college coaches nationwide? Through our announcers' storytelling and insight on your athletes, we can help your players get an edge on college recruiting. Find out how by reaching out to Varsity Media today, 516-403-2050, or email ben@varsitymedia.net.
Hey Mom and Dad, how about a personalized hype video of your athlete produced by Varsity Media? Cinematic coverage of game action, plus on-camera interviews by our crew set to music will make your son or daughter look like the next superstar. Perfect for social media fame and college recruiting. Don't wait, reach out today. Spots are limited this fall. 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net.
We welcome you inside Holy Trinity High School here in Hicksville, Long Island, where tonight the Varsity Media Sports Network presents the preview of the upcoming New York Catholic High School Football League season. Well, good evening, everyone. Dylan Butler alongside John Perez. And John, it is year number 69 of the Catholic High School Football League. We had an incredible season last year, and we expect it to be even better this year.
Yeah, just what a fantastic year it was last year, too, especially considering that it was probably the first normal year post-COVID where teams actually had their full training camp. They didn't have to worry about restrictions as much, and it just lived up to the hype. The playoffs were fantastic. Championship Saturday was also a fantastic job by Mitchell Field in the league, so it was a really good job overall. I'm trying to think. I know you've been around the block for a while, Dylan. It was probably one of the better years in recent history.
100%. And I think, too, when you think of the athletes who have played, the games, the level of the league, we'll break that down a lot with the president of the Catholic High School Football League, Chris Hardart, in a few minutes. We've got teams here live as well. 6 different teams represented throughout the league, and we'll break down I think at least 15 of the 21 teams that are in the league. So a lot to get to here tonight. But as you said, let's kind of start with a look back, right, at last year and the way that the season ended and the champions. And here you see them in the AAA. It was St. Anthony's, of course, getting back to glory, right? For a few years there, it was Iona and Stepanak and Hayes and the Friars kind of retaking their spot on top of the league. And there you see as well the Titans of Holy Trinity here, the hosts tonight, back-to-back champions, AA2, AA1, and the Xavier Knights as well. That was a fun story for them as well, where pandemic year, they were forced to bounce down to the AA2, win that, and now they're back up in AA1 this year.
And the fun thing about Xavier was they didn't have a home game. They didn't have a home field.
Yeah.
So that was incredible what they were able to do. St. Anthony's probably had their best year in program history, at least in recent history. And then you've got Holy Trinity, who back-to-back champs, looking for the three-peat this year, obviously moving up a level, but a ton of talent for the Titans, and they're not going to be a pushover when they come to the AAA.
And the Friars, as you mentioned, doing something that they've never done before in their school's history, winning a state championship as well, an incredible come-from-behind win up in Buffalo. So we showed you the champions of last year. Let's take a look at the preseason seedings and where at least the top 15 fall this year. And look at that. You go from defending champions to number 3. That speaks of the strength up in Westchester of Stepanak and Iona. Top 8 you see on your screen, that's your AAA. And then you go down from there into the AA1 and AA2. But really, I mean, we'll break it down throughout the next hour and a half or so, but AAA absolutely loaded, and the AA1 too. I mean, there's talented teams throughout this league.
It's always loaded, and you can make the argument that Chaminade and Cardinal Hayes, that are listed at 4 and 5, could win the championship this year, at least in the AAA. And Farrell coming off a tough year, but looking to bounce back as well. Certainly a ton of parity this year. Last year, obviously very top-heavy, but I think we're going to see a lot of parity this year, and it's going to be fun to watch.
See the change there, too. Holy Trinity up in the AAA, Christ the King down, a new regime there. We'll talk about that during the show as well. But More Catholic leading the line there in AA1 as well. After back-to-back championship appearances, we will talk to the Mavericks as well during the show about that.
I can't wait to see the lone representation from Staten Island today, making the trek all the way out here. More Catholic, always fun to watch, and the Mavericks are going to be a fun team this year.
Week 0 also promises to be really entertaining, and we'll take a look at some of those matchups that we have on hand, even a few games that we have for you as well. And look at this right away, man. Iona and Bergen Catholic. Let's go. You see as well, Farrell, Bishop Hendrickson, Del Barton, St. Anthony's, a game that we'll have for you on the Varsity Media Sports Network. The Titans as well, making the trip to Rhode Island, take on LaSalle, CK Prep, another old school rivalry in Queens being played in Uniondale at Mitchell Athletic Complex. And how about the Stepinac Crusaders going down to Tennessee to take on Baylor School? That should be a lot of fun. These are just some of the highlighted Week 0 matchups.
And we'll talk to Chris Hardart in a second, but I mean, how can you not get excited, obviously, about a lot of these non-conference matchups, but it just goes to show the strength of this league, not just in New York State, but throughout the rest of the country. And Stepinac obviously moving all the way down to Tennessee to play their first road game, but a couple of New Jersey schools along the way this year coming to Long Island, and those are going to be fun ones as well. And of course, Bishop Hendrick, and always a tough team to play on the road.
And so right away, right? Like you break camp and you go right into the cauldron, man. I mean, going down to Tennessee and Bergen and Iona, really, really fun matchups. And again, it's just Week 0. It's not even Week 1 yet in the Catholic League.
Right, and not just that, too. I know that a lot of people will put a lot into those non-conference games. It's a long football season, so if there's a few bounces here or a few bounces there in Week 1, that doesn't mean you have to judge the season. But, of course, we've had a whole offseason waiting to see how these teams fare. And, listen, it wouldn't be a surprise if you get some teams that are either overestimating their chances based on a win or just feeling the heartbreak after a loss. But it's going to be a fun barometer for these teams to play these other teams that are not in conference, and that's going to be interesting to see how they all play out and how it helps strengthen them when it comes to playing in the CHSFL.
And as you said, too, we'll speak to Chris in a few minutes as well, but I think it, again, speaks of the strength of the league where now you're going. It's not just over the bridge and taking on the Jersey schools, right? You're taking on the best of the best in the state of Tennessee as well. So that's, great for Stepinac to kind of fly that flag of the league against the state champion down there as well.
I think it's great, and I think what it does is it helps move Stepinac, which is funny because it's this little school in White Plains, into a national powerhouse, and you get the brand recognition out there too, and showing that. I mean, how many years, Dylan, have you heard New York high school football? It's just not there with the rest of the country. Well, now they've got an opportunity to do so, and you play in those games, you play competitive, you win, put your name on the map.
Absolutely. We spoke about, we teased a few of the matchups that we have on Varsity Media in Week 0. Let's take a look at some of our broadcast schedule. Before we get to that, though, we want to remind you as well to subscribe to us there. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. You want to follow us on our social media handles as well, at Varsity Media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as well. So as we just said, some exciting matchups from Week 0 and on, and here is our broadcast schedule of the New York Catholic High School Football League, and it starts off right away, right? We are 8 days away from our first game. Coach calls are starting up this week, guys. Del Barton, St. Anthony's, Christ the King, St. Francis Prep, and then you see it's always fun Friday night out in South Huntington, right? We'll have Hayes and St. Anthony's, and then Gold Star Stadium will be the site as Iona and Chaminade. And then we get to some of those great Battle of the Bridge games as well, right? St. Joe's Montvale and St. Anthony's, Paramus Catholic. For the row friend Jimmy Cavallo, now the athletic director, taking on Chaminade. And again, that's just weeks 1 and 2. And take a look at what we have after that.
Oh, doctor, what a schedule. I mean, you've got probably the best game on Staten Island, Moore Catholic against Farrell.
By the way, it's sold out already, I think.
Right, yeah, I'd imagine. And those tickets were sold out last year, too. Iona Prep, St. Anthony's, and we're going to see a ton of St. Anthony's this year and Chaminade as well, back-to-back weeks. How about SJB? Too, out in West Islip, too, a team that has a lot of talent. They're here, they're in the building as well against the 2-time defending champs, Holy Trinity, and then Holy Cross. The Battle of the Boulevard goes all the way out to Uniondale, and then punctuated by the 100th version of the Turkey Bowl, the oldest rivalry in the league, Xavier and Fordham Prep from Rose Hill.
The scenes, I mean, we're fast-forwarding to Thanksgiving morning, but the scenes and just having it at Rose Hill, the 100th, it's going to be an incredible morning. I know that we'll be there for you as well on the Varsity Media Sports Network. Cannot wait, but a lot of football to be played before that.
A lot of football to be played. It's going to be a lot of fun, and whatever predictions or thoughts that we have today will dramatically change by those times.
So as you mentioned, a lot to get to in this show, and that includes the president of the Catholic High School Football League. It's Chris Hardett. Believe we'll have Chris on now. You can pick it up. I think it's year 36 for him of the 69 overall. Chris, thanks, for hosting us. I know you wear multiple hats, so as the athletic director of this fine institution, thanks for hosting us here. And John and I were just talking about a bit of the health of this league, and I can't imagine, again, you've been here for nearly 4 decades. The health of this league right now, it's got to be as healthy, if not the most healthy it's been, when you consider the level of teams, the level of player, the level of competition, and going out and competing against teams in Tennessee and Rhode Island and things like that.
Well, first of all, thanks to both of you guys, and thanks to Ben and Varsity Media for coming here and covering our league. It's been a great thing in the last few years with you guys coming on board, and it's nothing but great for our kids and for all of our schools. Our league right now, I mean, there's no question it's one of the healthiest it's ever been. But I think that's a credit to all of our coaching staffs and our administrations of our schools that really take it seriously and understand the value of having quality football programs and athletic programs. And I think that's what differentiates us from everybody else, from all the leagues around New York. There's no other league in New York that is, taking on teams from across the country the way we are, and at least the way we're trying to. And, just like you said, like I heard you guys talking about the Battle of the Bridge, that was a long time coming. There was always a conversation for years about New Jersey and New York getting together and playing football against each other. And, we actually got a bunch of us together 2 years ago at a diner on Route 17, and it's been, last year was tremendous. I mean, there was some really, really, really well played games, and now we're just going to go back at a rematch with all the games, and it's just a credit to our kids in our league. And
Chris, when you look at last year overall, not only did your teams obviously compete in New Jersey, but there were a lot of wins out there too, which I'm sure helps. And this league getting to its strength is not built overnight. But when you look at last year being probably the first year that is without restrictions due to COVID, you put on a fantastic event at Mitchell Field for the final. The All-Star game was great. Encapsulating 2022 as a whole, what are your thoughts on the previous year?
Well, like you said, I mean, that championship, like Dylan said, for 35 years now for me. I've been on that Saturday before Thanksgiving. That's where I've been to watch 3 tremendous football games every year. And it's what we tried to do as a league. We try to try to create the best competition we can based on, the ability of schools, because as we've talked about a million times, we're not a cookie cutter league. We're not a situation where every school is the same and every school has the same facilities, or every school has the same resources and numbers of kids in the building and academic strength, et cetera. So for us to put together, that's the thing I'm the most proud of, to be honest with you, as the leader of the league, is that we take a lot of shots. We take a lot of shots in the media and a lot of shots from people out there that don't understand why we do what we do. But in the Catholic schools, we're a business. Our schools are businesses, and it's important for our kids to be able to compete at a level. Nobody's looking to put themselves in a situation. I tell the guys all the time, no one's looking to put themselves in a situation to necessarily win a championship at that level. But we're trying to put all the teams in the conferences where they can compete the best. And I think that's what you saw last year. You saw it, and it's sometimes we make a mistake, like you guys mentioned before about the movement of schools, even from last year to this year, moving from different division to different division. It's not always an easy thing to do, or it's not an exact science. So we try our best, and most of the time the result is 3 great games, like you said, from last year.
And Chris, expect the same, I think, again this year. It's going to be outstanding, whoever gets to that final Saturday. But one of the things I think that makes this league, the tradition of it, is so special, really, is that it actually goes beyond that final Saturday, right? And Thanksgiving, 2 incredible games year after year. At 10:30 in the morning up at Mount, you've got Hayes and Mount every single year. And this year, a special one. It's the 100th anniversary of the Turkey Bowl between Xavier and Fordham Prep, the 2 Jesuit schools getting at it. Again, I think it speaks to a league's tradition like no other.
Absolutely. That Fordham Prep, when I started in the league back in the late 80s, I went to that game and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. As a high school kid growing up in Queens, that was foreign to me, to go to the Bronx and go to Fordham University and see 4,000 people at a Thanksgiving Day morning game. Amazing. So that's a great tradition of those 2 schools, and the league really respects that tradition. And don't forget about this year's the Mount Hayes game. It'll be Coach Mario Valentini's final game, and we're talking about a league legend and an icon in the league, who is in his 40th year, and that'll be his last game to be played, and against C.J. O'Neal, who played for him.
Right.
So there you go. That's how the tradition of this league. You're right. That's how the tradition of this league is so special, and when you hear things like that, the 100th year of that, and then a retirement like Mario, it's special. It's very special. It's really why I do what I do, to be honest.
I think the as we wrap up here, I think one of the things too, guys, is you could see it from the different head coaches, right? So many of these guys are alums of that school, which I think speaks to it as well. Whether they played for a legend like Coach Massia here or Coach Reichert at St. Anthony's, they stay in the league and they play and they coach and they lead young men in this league as well. Chris, thanks so much. We're looking forward to an incredible year again. Quick break here for you guys, and when we return here on the Varsity Media Catholic High School Football League preview, the champs are in the house. St. Anthony's coming up when we return right here on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
At Catholic Health, when we see our island, we see extraordinary life. The most extraordinary of which is you. It's because our Catholic faith places the highest value on people. All people. It's the inspiration for our exceptional medical care with unmatched compassion. And it's why at Catholic Health you're more than a patient. You're someone's family, best friend, and a neighbor to us all. Long live Long Island.
Hello, beautiful people. We all know Travis Hunter, right? We're headed to Jackson, Mississippi right now to announce his partnership with my favorite, So Hoodie.
All of my OG subscribers already know about those hoods that I usually wear in all my videos. But if you're new here, it's called a So Hoodie. Basically, how it started was with athletes wearing towels on their head. No different from the innovation of a single arm sleeve or a leg sleeve. Boom! Take that towel off and throw a hood on. You could do something calm and just have the blank color to match your team uniform. Or you and a gang could place a team order to have the school logo on the side of it. And it's not just for players. The fans need some drip too. Y'all know I got my Iwiwi hoods up there and some other cool collabs, including this collab we're doing with Travis Hunter. So go check out the link in my description, and when you're ready to check out, go ahead and use promo code HA15. You heard?
Varsity Media offers live streaming services for any sport. With human beings behind the camera, you can expect the proper coverage angles during each game. We offer customizable options such as live scoreboard, multiple cameras, instant replay, graphics, and even announcers. Find out how you can save $100 off a live stream package with Varsity Media by calling 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net.
Welcome back to Holy Trinity High School here in Hicksville. It is the Varsity Media New York Catholic High School Football League preview show. Dylan Butler, John Perez here again, and we bring in, listen, I think it's fitting, right? First team we bring in, the team that won it all in the AAA a year ago, the Friars of St. Anthony's. And John, when we look at, and there you see some of the guys there, we'll introduce them in a moment, but when we look back at last year, an absolute storybook season. Here is their at a glance. You see it last year, 11-1. This year, pre-seeded number 3. Those key losses, we could only fit 2 on the screen, right? So those are the 2 big dogs, right? Dante Torres now at Harvard and Ian Strong at Rutgers. But there were a lot of really key seniors, John, on last year's team who went on and you think of Frank Ruda and Darius Morant, 2 incredible running backs, and Jojo DiCiaro, 101 tackles defensively, right? So for the Friars to repeat, there's a lot of firepower lost.
A lot of firepower lost, but still a ton of firepower that is there. And, of course, not to mention that they've got, obviously top 2 players in the league that we will be talking to in a second. It helps that they've got a fantastic head coach and a good coaching staff and a good foundation there as well. I think they'll be fine. I'm sure they're not expecting to have the banner year like last year in terms of the way that they did it, but of course championship expectations are still on the table for the Friars, and there's no reason to believe that they can't repeat the accomplishments of last year.
Those are always the expectations at South Huntington, and we bring in the guys now. And on our set, we've got head coach Joe Minucci in his 5th season as the head coach, also athletic director there as well. Next to Joe, we've got Alex Mengi and KJ Duff as well. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. And Joe, start with you. You heard a little bit of what we were talking about in terms of an incredible year last year. Obviously, pretty quickly after, whether it was the ring ceremony or whatever, like you turn the page. Big shoes to fill, obviously, at the quarterback position. Ian kind of being that jack of all trades who is incredible at everything. Considering that, though, how has preseason gone for you guys?
I think it's gone pretty well. Things go fast here as we're getting ready to play a game. Next weekend, which is crazy that it's right around the corner. But we've been working hard. We've put together a couple of good days together. We went up and got some good work up at Darien with a combined practice with them and one of their other schools up in Connecticut. So everybody's been grinding, working. We're feeling pretty good with where we're at right now, and just looking forward to keeping it moving, scrimmaging this weekend, and getting ready for week 1.
I think as a head coach, it's a good problem to have that you're the defending champs and you have the year that you do. But now that it's a new year, how do you reset with this new group of guys that the goal is still obviously to get to that championship game, but, you're back at square one like everyone else?
Everybody's 0-0. That's the good thing about a new season. The good thing for us is, as you guys mentioned, we did lose a lot of firepower, but we returned, Alex and KJ that are sitting next to me. We've also have, about 3 or 4 guys on the offensive line that got significant playing time last year, so we can lean on those guys. We bring Preston Carey back on the defensive line, some DBs that spot played a little bit last year. So a number of guys that were on the team last year that played some significant roles, and some other guys that got in here and there. But there's enough experience in our locker room that they can lean on one another, and I think this year we're going to be a pretty good football team.
Yeah, I don't think I'm sleeping on you guys this year. We'll go to Alex now, and Alex, you're similar, I think, to a lot of other guys on this team this year, where you've got an advanced role, right? Like, you didn't have to be the guy last year, or at least one of the guys. I mean, an incredible wide receiving core that you guys had. Some guys graduated there as well as a tight end, but a guy who can catch the football as well. Higher expectations for you as well, right? I mean, what did you have to do in the offseason to sort of get yourself ready for an advanced role?
Having to improve on everything, my blocking, my route running, my speed, catching the ball, but really just practice, getting the reps in, and getting it done really on the field.
One thing that I'm curious about the two of you guys, and that you've both have now committed going forward, when it comes to your day-to-day and your workouts and trying to get better and hone your craft, do you kind of evaluate yourself now on a scale against other college players? Do you look at the rest of the competition in the league? How do you guys manage that?
I just think about getting better every time I lift, every time I work out, train, and just getting better 1% every day.
Alex, you're the Stony Brook commit. We'll ask you to hand off. You don't have to hand off a lot during the football season, but we'll hand off the mic now to KJ. And we were there with you, KJ, for your announcement. I'd imagine really for both you and Alex, to get that off your plate. The recruiting process for so many it's fun, but it's stressful as well. To get that out of the way ahead of your senior season, how have you felt in this preseason?
It's felt great. It was really like a weight off my shoulders. Anyone close to me, like kind of in my inner circle, coming out of that like commitment weekend, they knew it was a lot and stressful. So it just feels good to get that off my chest and really focus on the season this year.
Kind of curious, were there 3 different cakes, or did you just have the one Rutgers cake? Because that was fantastic.
No, just one.
I'm curious for you, and I know that I asked you this in the summer too, but there was so much that you accomplished last year, but I'm sure that you're your own toughest critic. What areas do you need to get better in, if at all?
Yeah, it was definitely this off season. My speed was like a big thing for me, and trying to just build on top of that, build on top of everything last year. But speed was definitely the number one thing I was looking to improve this off season.
You guys, we've got the game on Varsity Media. We've got a few of your games as well. But to start off, guys, with Del Barton, always a fun game. It's very similar schools. You'll have it at home. A lot of home games this year. You didn't have a lot last year. KJ, that's going to be a lot of fun to start off with this matchup.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait for it. Week 1 coming up. Just excited about it and excited for the season.
Should be an awesome time.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, Alex, KJ, thank you so much, and we wish you the best of luck this season as well.
Yeah, thank you.
You'll see plenty of us. Don't worry.
Surprised you're not sick of us already.
They will be. I'm sure they will. Like I said, it's week 0. It's week 1. I think it's week 2. a lot of Friar football coming up on the Varsity Media Sports Network. There is no doubt about that. We mentioned the elite teams in the league. And, John, when we look back at last year a little bit, and no disrespect to teams 4 and under, but it was very much the top 3 in the league, right? I mean, it showed, especially, we were talking about all the permutations, and it comes down to a blocked punt at Stepanak, run back, right?
Blocked field goal that would have won the game.
Correct. That's what I meant to say. A blocked field goal to win the game. And that changed everything, right, in terms of the seedings and who's where. And that spoke, again, to the strength of it, right? Teams 1 through 3, it was St. Anthony's, Iona. And now if you're 2 and 3, it's Iona, Stepanak. Who's going to host that game? I think even this year, it's even beyond those top 3, though, right? I mean, we'll talk about a few of those other teams now as well, but Chaminade and Kellenberg and Farrell will be better this year. The Trinity is in, and here's a look right now at Stepanak and their season. 8-3 a year ago for the Crusaders. And you see as well the preseason number 1. Why is that? It's because they've got a lot of dudes. That's the reason why. Will Currid, the lefty gunslinger, leading the way. Really, when you talk about experience, John, in that quarterback position, which is so important in this league, I don't know if there's many more quarterbacks than Will Curd who have that kind of experience.
No, and what's great about Will is that he can speed up the game when he wants to. He can slow it down. He's got a great vision for the field ahead of him. So Stepanak is never going to be in that herky-jerky, let's rush and not be in control. When you've got Will there and you've got a ton of other athletes, you'll be okay. 3,300
yards last year for Will Curd in the air. A lot of those going to Jahai Gary. He's back as well, right? Big 6'5" presence in the wide receiver position. Jordan Osborne as well. Again, we can only list 2 guys on each of these, right? And Wayne Coleman, the defensive lineman of the year a year ago. Jack Donahoe right now up at Harvard. Some incredible players for Coach OD. But listen, Samuel Madu, a Minnesota commit. We'll talk more about him later. Garrison Haslop as well, right? The Haslop name, synonymous with greatness. Of course, Gavin with the Browns right now. Eddie Palumbo, listen, these guys, they were just behind last year, but they were a lot of juniors. They're the team with a lot of seniors this year, and a big reason why they're the number 1 preseason.
And Deontay Douglas, too, another New Hampshire commit. They're going to be a fun team to watch, and can't wait to see what happens to the Crusaders this year.
The number 2 seed are the Gales of Iona Prep, and we saw them in the championship game last year, obviously losing to St. Anthony's, but another team that returned so many. Yes, you do lose a Johnny Shepard now at Rutgers. You lose a Colin O'Garo playing at Dartmouth. You lose a Thomas Schultz Langendorf, a terrific center at Trinity, and Jorge Ruiz as well, a right tackle at Georgetown. But you've returned some really special players as well on both sides of the football, led, of course, by Rowan Byrne. We'll have Jared Valuzzi, our Catholic High School Football League insider, later on to talk more about his players, but you can see right there, right? Byrne has a ton of offers, and Jalen Hicks as well among those key players. Teron Johnson and Adonde Nartley, they are loaded as well. It's funny, too, because you wonder, it's a similar question to St. Anthony's, right? Who replaces that guy at quarterback? And Joe Spagnuolo has said, listen, I've heard that before, and we manage it. I think they're going to manage it again this year.
Yeah, they'll manage it. It's, you don't have to throw 50-yard bombs every play. You can slow it down. You can mix up your offense, keep the defense, settling. You could game manage if you have to. I think Iona Prep will be fine.
And the Flyers of Chaminade. Let's take a look at their what they look like this year as well. And the preseason number 4. You see a 5-5 record, but you look beyond that record, a lot of close football games that they played. Their key players are actually with us on set. They lose some great guys there as well. It's not just, again, we can only fit 2 per, so it's not just Mason Dietrich. It's not just Charlie Battaglia. You had guys like Matty Rappa and Dean Aquilina and Luke Ventura on the line. Gavin Creo, kind of that jack-of-all-trades guy as well. A lot of the guys playing football as well on the next level, where Dietrich at Fordham, Matt Diegues as well, right? The quarterback, he's playing baseball at Fordham, but you've got Battaglia at Stonehill. You've got Aquilina at Hobart, Ventura at Trinity. And the guys that we have with us now are looking to take that next step. And I think if we learned something about Chaminade last year is that they proved that they belong in the AAA, right? If there was a question, that was answered. And now the question, I think, as we see the guys here with us on set, is can they take that next step and be one of the elite teams?
I don't see why not, and they've got the athletes to do so. We mentioned the parity in this league as well. When you've got, when you lose a Mason Dietrich, that's fine. There's another Dietrich to come in and replace him too, so that I'm sure Kevin Dolan's happy about that. The one thing that really stood out to me, and I'd love to get Coach Dolan's thoughts on this, and having the opportunity to see Chaminade at the 7-on-7s, is there seems to already be a chemistry there that I'm not sure other teams are at that point yet. In Chaminade, at least at their 7-on-7s, we're treating it as if they were already in the middle of the season and going forward and pumping each other up. I think that plays a big factor when you're in these close games, knowing that, hey, you got to get a break. You need to get a few bounces here, a few bounces there, and to have that mental fortitude. I know it's just a 7-on-7, but you can't teach chemistry, and that's at least what Chaminade has had early on from what I've seen.
Well, they do teach chemistry, I think, at Chaminade.
Well, yeah, and very well, and they could probably teach me a thing or two, but not exactly the chemistry that we're talking about.
So let's bring in the head coach and his boys as well, Kevin Dolan, Jack Tully, as well as famous Seamus Miller now. And, Coach, we'll start with you. As we said, a successful year, always good when you beat a Kellenberg and you do it at the buzzer the way that you did was incredible stuff. What's the encore here, right? Like, again, I thought you proved you belonged in that upper echelon of the league, but now can you push that even a step further?
Yeah, dovetailing on what you guys said before, like the worm is starting to turn for us at Chaminade football. Historically, Chaminade has always had strong football. But what's starting to happen at Chaminade in our last 4 years is we've got kids that are really focused on being great football players. Many of them, like Jack Tully, are also Division I lacrosse players. But he never steps out of that football role, which is why he's one of our captains. It's a student-led program. This offseason, why we look those ways, the 7-on-7, we've been training since December. We've been what we call our OTA program, our practice periods during the week, all different positions. It varies throughout the week. The kids are ready to roll. They're committed. They know each other. They've spent a lot of time with each other. Saturday morning lifts, we call it our breakfast club. And in terms of leadership, whether it's Jack out there on the lacrosse field, showing those kids that you don't have to specialize in one sport. You can be like a Gavin Creel. Jack's another example, a multi-sport athlete. You look at Seamus. If I don't arrive at that weight room, or Coach Elder, who also runs our strength program, doesn't arrive at that practice, Seamus is running the whole deal. 45 kids warming up, getting ready to lift, training, the breakdown at the end. The boys are taking over the shop, and there's a lot of magic in that, a lot of ownership.
And I'm curious too, Coach, how much does that energize you and challenge you as a coaching staff, because they expect so much, and obviously now they want to be coached and they want to get better, and now you have the pleasure of getting them there and moving them to the next level.
There's no excuses for being late. There's no excuses for being unprepared. These are the speeches that coaches give kids. Now, what they've demanded from us as coaches, we need to be on top of our game every day, every practice, every drill, and that is coming together. And, we haven't played any games yet. Nobody's been hit in anger. Everything's a lot easier when you're in underwear and 7-on-7, and everything's a lot easier in 11-on-11 when you're banging hard, but with people that you know. So we need to see what happens when shots are fired in anger, in our scrimmages coming up and in our games. But I'd be lying if I didn't say we feel very strongly about this group. I think we're going to make some noise in this league and a great football league.
Jack, you Coach was just saying it as well, right? Where you're a guy whose future is in another sport, but as we saw with Gavin and other guys last year, these months of football, like you're not a lacrosse guy playing, you're a football player. Right, and it's something I know that you take very seriously. And again, you're coming off a year as well where, you had 161 carries. You ran the hell out of the ball last year. You showed your versatility as a receiver as well. You guys had 6 different receivers with 100 or more yards, which showed a lot of different looks there for Diego's last year. Again, I think that versatility, I'd imagine, is something you're going to be showing this year too.
Yeah, this year we definitely are looking to get everybody involved, and I think with Tyler Granito, our quarterback this year, he looks great in the offseason. He looks great now. I think he'll definitely be able to implement me into the receiving game a little bit like we did last year.
Seamus, we ran a poll on the Varsity Media social pages asking what player is going to break out this year, and the amount of Seamus Millers that were there, I don't know if
is that your family?
Yeah,
is that what?
Well, they weren't all Miller. They weren't all Miller handles. But I guess my question to you is, why are these people right? Why do you feel like you're on the verge of having a breakout season?
I feel especially because we lost a lot of seniors, so there's a lot of juniors coming up, younger kids, especially on our D-line. And last year I played outside linebacker, even though I've been an inside linebacker. So since the seniors graduated, they're gone. I got moved back inside now with a junior with me. So hopefully I'm looking to actually play as an inside linebacker more, get up with the O-lineman, make contact, make plays, instead of just having to drop back and run around, and just hopefully play more of a traditional inside linebacker position as opposed to last year's.
Well, listen, guys, we saw Charlie Battaglia, we saw Matty Rappa, Ben Mann. These are all guys who preceded you, and I'd imagine John Perez. We're going to see some big hits from our boy over here as well. Chaminade guys, thank you so much. Kevin Dolan, Jack Tully as well, Seamus Miller. We can call him Famous Seamus, right?
Oh, not a problem.
There we go, Famous Seamus Miller.
Names, that's a great one.
All right, there we go.
Right.
It's a lock, and a lot of home games as well for you guys. And we actually have one coming up as well, a Week 1 matchup. This one should be a ton of fun. Here is their entire schedule, but there's not a lot of red there, and the red signifies road games. You're a home for Iona, Paramus, St. John the Baptist, a team called the Friars as well. That's always fun. And more Catholic as well. Terrific home schedule, and it all starts with Week 1. Iona Prep coming to town. We will have that game for you on the Varsity Media Sports Network. John, cannot wait.
Can't wait. I can't wait to see what happens with the Flyers this year. Can't wait to see what we get out of this new offense. Tyler Granito as well. It's going to be a fun year for Kevin Dolan's crew.
Awesome stuff from Chaminade. We appreciate you guys coming on set with us as well. I think another team, John, that had a down year for their standards a year ago, but they were very, very young, is Cardinal Hayes, right? And when you look at CJ O'Neal's team, again, 21st season for CJ, he returns. Like, you lose a Juan Diaz, who is a terrific center, was a leader of that group, and Typhon Mason was a very good wide receiver. But let's be honest, their best guys, and two of them were named Beelan, are back, as are so many other guys.
Yeah, I mean, the Beelan football family, right? Making a name for themselves in the tri-state area. I think one thing about Cardinal Hayes, and we could say it every year regardless of the talent that they have coming into the season, is that CJ O'Neal has patented the we're going to grow and get better as the season goes along. So when they played, for instance, on the Varsity Media Sports Network last year, Cardinal Hayes on the road played Chaminade. I believe they were, 0-4, 0-5 at that point, and obviously Chaminade won that game. But it was competitive, and Cardinal Hayes was in every single game. They always have the athletes to do so. They have a fantastic coaching staff, and, you get Beelan one more year of experience. He's going to be your signal caller. Not sure exactly if he's a Christian Anderson or not, but someone who can run it, can sling it. They're going to be fine on offense, and then on defense, it's just going to be fun to watch for Cardinal Hayes.
Well, before we get to our next game, a little bit more quickly on Hayes. You've got Blake Beelan and Kamari Valentine. These are two starters as sophomores. Those are your defensive tackles. You've got Abdul Ba, Giovanni Downer as well at linebackers. A great defensive back core as well, led by Ray Boyd. And Kenneth Antoine running the football. You've got 4 out of 5 offensive linemen back. That's huge for Cardinal Hayes. So whether they're playing up on the rooftop across from Yankee Stadium or elsewhere, the Hayesmen certainly will be making a lot of noise this year. Another team that wasn't quite up to their standards a year ago, and we expect better from them this year, are the Lions of Monsignor Fowler. They see their record 3-7 in Rocco Del Piori's first year. That was year after making the AAA championship year. So they tweaked a few things. There were some injuries last year. Messiah Birch would have been one of the better running backs in the league. Missed the bulk, if not all, of the season, right? Injured. So a hard guy. But what the Lions do have, John, are 6 guys on the roster and guys who will play big roles this year who played in that championship game 2 years ago. That is huge to have that kind of experience.
It's huge to have that experience. It kind of calms the locker room down and the rest of the sidelines, so that's going to help. And listen, they've got some vengeance on their mind as well. They lost to Moore Catholic last year. They want to win those games. Farrell's a team that you can't sleep on. It's a tough place to play as well. I'm interested to see how the Lions fare this year, especially after a tough year that wasn't there for their standards a year ago.
And also, when you look at the key players back, Christian Pinto, that's a 3-year starter at quarterback. We mentioned Will Currid and the experience that he has. You could say the same, really, for the Lions as well. And Luis Martinez, he's teaming at defensive end. His other defensive end is Yasir De Jesus. Those are 2 dudes. Those are 2 really, really fierce individuals at D ends. That's going to be a lot of fun for them as well.
It's going to be fantastic. Can't wait to see what happens with Farrell this year.
So it was one of the bigger stories last year. I think it's the guys who call Holy Trinity home, right? Last year, whether it was the playmakers, they made a lot of noise last year, a lot of chatter on social media as well, but they lived up to it as well, right? A back-to-back championship seasons, and so many people, and we'll talk to these guys, we'll ask this question, but so much of the talk was, all right, well, fine, you've proved it on the AA2 level, you've proved it on the AA1, but can you be one of the big dogs with the rest of the big dogs in this league? And that's the question, I think, this year.
I don't see any reason why they can't be. They beat Kellenberg last year, played Chaminade pretty tough. That was the first loss in, since before the pandemic for Holy Trinity. It's been a while for them. They still have the playmakers. We're speaking to 4 of them in just a moment. No reason to believe that Holy Trinity is anything but an easy out. They're going to be a fun team to watch in the AAA. And you know what? Maybe, and we'll have them answer this, it's not so bad to be under the radar at the beginning of the season. I'm sure Kamal Roy is probably telling, hey, look, this is bulletin board material. They don't believe in us. Let's show them why they're wrong.
They are the preseason 8 of 8 in the AAA this year. In addition to Josiah Brown, who's going to Penn State, he transferred to Malvern. Dylan Brathwaite at Rutgers. Irv Briggs was a terrific lineman here at Stony Brook. Chris Bacon as well was the AA1 Defensive Player of the Year at Maine. Listen, I think when you talk about that level of athlete, right, guys who are going to play at such a high level collegiately, that tells you one thing for certain. It's that Holy Trinity football is back, and it is led, obviously, by Kamal Roy, rebuilding this program up to be a AAA team.
Yeah, and as we look at the highlights from their win over Kellenberg last year, I don't think Jameer Reeder got touched the entire game last year, and if he did, he got knocked back and still ran it to the house. It was fantastic. Yeah, this is obviously a big year. They're still the 2-time defending champs for a reason, and it's going to be fun to see them move up to the next level.
All right, time for questions, and we have a host of Titans here as well. Listen, they get the home field advantage, right? So they host us. We let them have as many guys as you want on set as well. But first question will go to their head coach, and there you see all the guys. Nice color coordination, guys. Appreciate it. Good look. We start with Kamal Roy. Kamal, 5th season. I think I might have asked you this maybe every year, so I apologize for that. But when you took this program over, a program that is so near and dear to your heart as a Titan former player, now a head coach, leader of men, the build, are you where you expect to be in year 5 of this, or is it even at a larger level, having won back-to-back championships, being in the AAA now?
Well, when we put our staff together my first year, our thought process was we were going to have a 5-year plan. Honestly, it didn't include 2 championships. We were going to try to rebuild, try to get back some of the legacy that men like the Massier brothers had built, and just try to get some of that winning tradition back at the school. I think we've been fortunate enough to have some players get to us that can really contribute, more so as solid young men and also as good football players. So to answer your question, I don't think that it was a part of the 5-year plan, but we're fortunate that we've been able to have the success that we've had.
I'd have to imagine, Coach, that moving up to the AAA, it's probably now a put up and show up mentality. I'm curious what the message has been this summer that you guys are moving up at the next level. Does anything change, or do you just keep everything the same in terms of the messaging?
Well, you guys know me. We're going to keep the same type of mentality. We're going to make sure that we're 1-0 at the end of each week. Moving up a division doesn't really affect us in the way that has affected some of the general public. We are just trying to make opportunities for our kids. We know that in order to move up in a division, it's going to create better opportunities for our kids. I think it's a testament to how we've built our program. It's been a methodical build, you know what I mean? So it makes sense that we went from AA2 to AA1 and now getting a shot at the AAA. We don't weigh as heavily on the division more so than the preparation. The process, as I've told you guys before, is so much more important than where we stand, what rankings we have, and things of that nature. We just want to continue to build. We want to work through the process and kind of let the result be a result of how we taken care of our business.
We'll go to Rocco now, and Rocco Raynone. We mentioned guys in this league signal callers who have a lot of experience. Will Currid at Stepanak, and we just mentioned Christian Pinto, guys who are 3-year guys. You're in that same mold. You split time in the past. It was your job last year. What is your comfort level coming into this first year in the AAA, having been in this offense and had all the reps that you've had?
So I would say I'm more comfortable than I've ever been here. I know the plays well. I'm better at reading defenses than I ever have been, and being here for a third year, it's just gonna make the difference. And I'm ready to prove that we are able to play in the AAA like we're supposed to be.
I want to talk to the Bull, Jameer Reeder, and Jameer, you're going to get a majority of the carries this year, and how do you make yourself a better tailback? How do you make yourself and pace yourself for what could be a very daunting year in the AAA?
Honestly, with the coaching I've had these past years, I'm just going to keep doing the same thing, going back. I have a great running back coach in Coach Way. I have a great coach in Coach Kamal Roy. So everything they told me these past years, I'm just going to keep reliving it and doing what I do every day.
Vernal White, we'll go to you now, and you heard me list off the guys who aren't here, right? And I'm sure you hear a little bit of chatter, right? And certain guys are gone. Maybe you aren't up for the challenge. How much even is that personal for you and you guys as a whole to kind of say, listen, we're still the Titans. We're still going to be an elite team.
Yeah, so I want to fill in their big shoes, and I want to make sure that I'm a complete. I can't even speak.
That's all right. It's all right.
I can't speak.
Well, I mean, listen. There's a lot of expectations, but at the same time, as there was a good handoff. I think Rocco would appreciate that handoff. That was pretty solid right there. Ronald could maybe play a little bit of QB with that handoff. And if there's no better player, I think, John, to hand it off to than Mr. Reeder here.
No,
right?
I'll give it to him every day of the week. That's I mean, listen, if I've got Rocco's arm, then I'm going to throw it out there too. I think that also helps too, that you've got guys up here that can catch too, and they're not just one-trick ponies. How much of a benefit, I guess, Rocco and Jameer, does that help the offense, knowing that if you're ever in trouble, you could just sling it to one of these guys and there's going to be a positive play?
Speaking for both of us, I feel like it's a great thing that we could depend on different players who have different play styles, and it really gives the team more variety to show that we're not that one-trick pony, and that if one thing don't work, we could always resort to the other. And we know that regardless of the circumstance, we could always make it out of it.
Now, the next gentleman that we're going to talk to, I think he's got a future in coaching. And don't let that stern face fool you. This guy is fantastic. Had a chance to watch him at a clinic earlier this year, coaching up the young kids. Are you trying to say
Kamal Roy shouldn't be the head coach anymore?
I'm just saying, if and when the day comes that Kamal has to step down or give the headset away, it's to Justin Costa. And Justin, I think one of the cool things in having the opportunity to obviously watch you work at the showcase, but also be on the sideline last year, was there's an ingrown competition amongst you guys, and how much does that push you and the rest of the guys to make each other better, knowing that the end goal is that trophy that's right in front of you?
Yeah, so every day is a competition with us, to be honest. Every day is 100% full speed, contact, hitting. It just makes everybody better at the end of the day. We all work hard to reach that end goal, and that's just all we got to do, to be honest. As long as we keep working hard, pushing each other to our limits, that's how we're going to win.
You don't think he won't be a coach?
I like that. That's a good answer.
That's, yeah.
And I've seen him in the trenches. He's going to be a really good lineman as well as he's been. And, again, some great guys before him, right? Irv Briggs, Chris Bacon, guys who have won these big awards. And if he's not an award winner this year, then he'll be the coach of the year in the future.
I'd imagine so. I'd place the bets right now. That's the future.
Well, guys, thank you so much. We appreciate all for obviously hosting here as well. We love doing your games, and we look forward to doing more as well. It is the two-time defending champions. And look right there. It starts with a road trip. We're not on the road trip, but you see them going out to LaSalle Academy, Xavier, and then that Immaculata game, part of that Battle of the Bridge. And then some tough road games ahead with Stepanak, Fordham, and Hayes. And look at that one. That'll be a fun Long Island matchup, right? A home game against St. John the Baptist. We will be here. We'll have the Varsity Media Sports Network crew here in Hicksville as the Cougars, they're here in the house as well, taking on the Titans as well. Those are always fun matchups.
Always a fun matchup. Always fun to see Kamal Roy and his crew, and they're going to be a lot of fun this year.
So that is the Titans of Holy Trinity, and we thank them, as always, for joining us. Back, I think it's great to see them back in the AAA. They were a program that has been there in the past. They've played in that championship game, and I think, without getting too deep into it, I think it speaks again to the strength of the league. You know, they are a program that wanted to be among the best teams, and listen, they've got that opportunity this year as a AAA.
And I think what also helps too is that they've got a core that they're all bringing back as well too. It's not as if they had a heavy senior-laden team, and I know that you mentioned the losses there, but you still got Raynone, Reeder, Costa, Renal White. It's going to be fun to see them make that transition and see if they really are capable of handling the AAA. Don't get too down if they have a tough regular season. I think that's going to bolster them for the postseason. And for Holy Trinity, they're looking for that three-peat. And, you know, I know that Kamal said he probably didn't have 2 championships in that 5-year plan, but I bet you he'll take a third.
He certainly will. We'll take a look at our next team from the AAA. It is the Firebirds. We stay on the island, stay in Nassau County. The Firebirds of Kellenberg. Eric Meissy, in his first season, 6-4. But look again, beyond those numbers, how about 3 losses of their last 5 by a combined 14 points? That was to Trinity, to Stepanek. They really gave the Crusaders a run for their money at Mitchell Athletic Complex. And then that really difficult playoff loss, a walk-off for the Flyers there as well. But listen, they return a lot of experience on their line this year that will anchor what is otherwise a young team. You see the guys who are gone. The Page brothers, they are gone. They are playing Ivy League football now with Dylan Page at Cornell, that right tackle, D tackle, and Devin was so great to watch him scoot around at the quarterback. He's at UPenn now. Ethan Cumming was a terrific running back. And Sean Cannon. They always seem to find these guys, whether it's Sean Cannon, whether it's Sluka before them, right? Like these guys who can just do a little bit of everything. Cannon was that guy a year ago, but he is gone. But still, again, a lot of Luke Fifield, we just showed you, Isaiah Gittins on both sides of the line. And if you want to see that next guy, like that next guy who will run the football, who will throw the football, who will be that like Sluka Cannon clone, it could be Brendan Galla, the junior as well, that fast twitch athlete. So the Firebirds under Eric Meissy, I think they're going to be another team, right? You've got to play them. Again, they'll have that inexperience early, and it's a matter of how quickly they gel.
Well, and I think you mentioned it too. I think Gala is going to be that X factor for Kellenberg, and it's going to be funny. It's going to be fun to see how they disperse that talent. Last year, it was really just, well, we'll give it to Devin Page or we'll give it to Sean Cannon, and everybody get out of the way. Can't really do that to compete in this league at that level. So a lot of new roles for Kellenberg. Meissy's up for the challenge, and let's see how they go about it. Because at least for me, watching from the outside, Kellenberg was in a lot of those games. They probably feel they should have won those games, but now it's going to come down to executing with a staff that is not as experienced as last year, and they're going to have to grow up really quickly in a tough Catholic league for the Firebirds, but they can certainly do it.
I'll tell you what I take before we go to break. I take an experienced line over experienced skill guys any day of the week, because that's your anchor, right? The guys who will block or get after the other team, and they've got that. We mentioned Fifield and Gittins. How about also Andrew Kaiser as well, a returning starter? Just had a Wesleyan offer, likely going to be that NESCAC guy for them. So that's where you start. And now the skill guys work around and get some experience. So I think it's a good beginning, a good starting point for the Firebirds this year.
It is a great starting point. I'm with you. I'd rather have the line and the skill players, and Kellenberg certainly has that.
So that is the AAA and the Catholic High School Football League. We'll take a break. We'll break down the AA1, AA2, and we're going to bring in our insider as well to break down some of the college commitments and offers as well. It is the Catholic High School Football League preview show, and it's all right here on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
You're watching the Varsity Media Sports Network, the home for New York high school sports.
Hello, beautiful people. We all know Travis Hunter, right? We're headed to Jackson, Mississippi right now to announce his partnership with my favorite So Hoodie.
All of my OG subscribers already know about those hoods that I usually wear in all my videos. But if you're new here, it's called a So Hoodie. Basically, how it started was with athletes wearing towels on their head. No different from the innovation of a single arm sleeve or a leg sleeve. Boom! Take that towel off and throw a hood on. You could do something calm and just have the blank color to match your team uniform. Or you and a gang could place a team order to have the school logo on the side of it. And it's not just for players. The fans need some drip too. Y'all know I got my Iwiwi hoods up there and some other cool collabs, including this collab we're doing with Travis Hunter. So go check out the link in my description, and when you're ready to check out, go ahead and use promo code HA15. You heard?
When it comes to advertising, are you hitting the right audience? Why waste your time with television or a free print publication that's given out at a local deli? Varsity Media has your back. With a following of over 50,000 and a local demographic ranging between the ages of 18 and 54 years old, it's time to get that return on investment. Plus, here's the best part. Your ad lives forever on our YouTube page. And with a large on-demand audience, it's a grand slam to advertise with Varsity Media.
Hey sports fans, did you know Varsity Media live stream broadcasts get viewed by college coaches nationwide? Through our announcers' storytelling and insight on your athletes, we can help your players get an edge on college recruiting. Find out how by reaching out to Varsity Media today, 516-403-2050, or email ben@varsitymedia.net.
Hey mom and dad, how about a personalized hype video of your athlete produced by Varsity Media? Cinematic coverage of game action, plus on-camera interviews by our crew set to music will make your son or daughter look like the next superstar. Perfect for social media fame and college recruiting. Don't wait, reach out today. Spots are limited this fall. 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net.
Welcome back to Holy Trinity High School here in Hicksville. It is a Friday night, which is usually a football night.
Yep.
Dylan Butler, John Perez with you. It is the Catholic High School Football League preview show, all right here on the Varsity Media Sports Network. And John, we bring in our Catholic High School Football League insider. Now, Jared Veluzzi, who will be with us throughout the year. And Jared does such an incredible job breaking down the league, breaking down the players, and he's going to break down, I think, now some of our key players. We saw a few of these guys in AAA, but Jared has his finger on the pulse of the entire league. And Jared, we're so thankful that you're able to join us. And how about you break down some of those key players for us?
Yeah, I'm glad I'm able to join the show. And, we're going to start off in the AA2. And on the defensive side of the ball, Chris Duffy out of Xavier is going to be one of the top linebackers in the entire Catholic League, regardless of class. He's fast, physical, nose to the ball. He's going to make a ton of plays and certainly will be the leader for the Xavier defense. And on the offensive side in the AA2, Mark Pearson out of Mount St. Michael is one of the best quarterbacks in all of New York City. Last year, over 1,300 yards in the air, and he also had 10 touchdowns on the ground. Pearson's looking to lead Mount St. Michael to a season where they think this could be the year. And in AA1, we'll go to the defensive side of the ball. James Rice out of Fordham Prep. He's an old school middle linebacker. He is one of the best run stoppers in this league. And if Fordham wants to win a AA1 division title, then they're really going to have to stop the run. Rice is going to be the guy to do so. And on the offensive side of things, speaking of run heavy, it's Mahedi Murrah from Xavier. And the thing about Murrah is he is now the workhorse in this backfield. Xavier graduated a couple guys, and you know that they're old school, ground and pound. Murrah's going to get a ton of carries, and he made a living last year running through tacklers. Everyone's really going to have to look out for him. And now in the AAA division, on defense, Jalen Hicks out of Iona Prep has to be one of the best players in the entire Northeast. He's headed off to Minnesota. And after a great junior season, he's really looking to take the next step to prove that he is one of the best defensive players in the tri-state area. And on offense, you guys mentioned him earlier, but Will Currid out of Archbishop Stepinac. Seems like he's been in this league pretty much forever. And Currid has a great receiving core around him, over 3,000 yards last year, and he's looking to lead Stepinac to a title.
Hey, don't tell him shy. That's short. That was 3,300 yards last year for Will Currid. An incredible season for the Crusaders.
It's like Will Currid's getting his PhD at Stepinac. That's how long he's been there. All right, so those are guys to watch, Jared. But there are some players that have put pen to paper. We've got some commitments as well.
Yeah, I mean, of course, this league filled with college talent, and we'll head out to St. Anthony's. We spoke with them earlier. KJ Duff and Alex Mangy going to be one of the best 1-2 punches when it comes to catching the football this year. Duff to Rutgers, Mangy headed to Stony Brook, and Archbishop Stepinac. I mean, we talked about this 2024 class, very special. Samuel Madu, the cornerback, he's headed to Minnesota. He'll certainly have a big season shadowing number 1 wide receivers, and the all-around athlete Deontay Douglas committed to New Hampshire. He does it at defensive back. He's a ball carrier and, of course, a very hard hitter. And also on defense, Eddie Palumbo, the Yale commit. He's going to take that JT Kravinskis role this upcoming season. Look out for him to get a ton of tackles. And, of course, at running back, Jordan Osborne, who's headed off to Monmouth, will be a workhorse with Lorenzo Robinson, and he should be extremely fun to watch. And also, of course, at Iona Prep, I just mentioned him, Jalen Hicks headed off to Minnesota, one of the top defensive players in this league. And finally, over there at Moore Catholic, Matthias Leighton, one of the most electrifying players in all of New York State. He does it wide receiver, DB. He's headed off to West Point. And we, of course, have Akil Meredith Smith, who's committed to Bowling Green, a two-way lineman who's going to make a big impact.
Not bad for Minnesota, right? You come in and you get Hicks and Madu, right? Bang, bang. You don't even leave Westchester County, right? You just make the trip across. You go to White Plains, you go to New Rochelle, and get 2 incredible players.
It's a great 2-for-1 offer, and I'm sure a lot of coaches in the Big Ten would love that.
Speaking of offers, those were the commitments, but this league is littered with guys who have some major, major offers. Jared, you've got a few of those guys for us.
Yeah, I mean, the class of 2025 in this league is absolutely special, and same with some of the seniors. Let's get into some of the guys. Over there, Cardinal Hayes, they were very young last year, but they have some amazing juniors. We'll start off with Blake Beelan, Wake Forest, Duke, Maryland. A lot of Power 5 schools are intrigued in one of the most talented defensive linemen in the Northeast. He's looking to have a big season, and, we mentioned that Beelan family earlier. Rich over there, the starting quarterback, also has a ton of offers. Syracuse, Temple, UConn, and I'm sure there's plenty of more to come. He's one of the most entertaining scramblers in all of New York State. And to finish off with the Cardinals, Mike Dunn, the senior lineman, and Cardinal Hayes, they got a lot of impressive big guys up front. Dunn has some FCS interest, Marist, LIU, Maine, the schools to offer him. He's looking to have a big-time season. And also, we'll go out to Iona Prep. And you want to talk about one of the biggest recruits in New York? You look at Rowan Byrne, offers from Notre Dame, Ohio State, Michigan, a ton of other Power 5 schools. Byrne is going to prove why he's one of the best juniors in the state. And another guy in the 2025 class, Teron Johnson. And when you talk about playoff football the last 2 years, Johnson had the interception to beat St. Anthony's his freshman year. He had the pick 6 last year against Stepinac to really help Iona Prep reach a championship. Johnson's certainly one of the best DBs in this league. And some people say generational talent. It's Preston Carey out of St. Anthony's, and he's just going to be a sophomore this upcoming season. Offers from Georgia, LSU, Ohio State, and pretty much all the major Power 5 schools. He was a monster on the defensive line this year, and he's looking to have a big sophomore campaign. And at Stepinac, a guy that people are really going to get to know is Garrison Heslop. He actually had a family member, Gavin Heslop, play in the NFL, but Garrison offers from Purdue, Minnesota, Syracuse. He's going to have an instant impact in this Stepinac secondary. And now we'll go out to the more Catholic guys. RJ Pacheco, another guy who's made an impact since his freshman year, and now he's really getting a lot of college interest. Maryland, Temple, Toledo, some of the schools that offered him. And Pacheco, one of the most elusive backs in all of New York City. I'm very excited to see what he does in an explosive more Catholic offense. And also for Moore Catholic, one of the most entertaining players in New York City is Isaiah Vanterpool, the guy who plays linebacker, safety. He's all over the field on defense. He's got offers from Bowling Green, Temple, Central Michigan. He's one of the hardest hitters in Staten Island. I really can't wait to see what he does in that Monsignor Farrell matchup. And he also has help in the secondary with Moore Catholic, as Damon Stewart has a ton of FCS interest. Sacred Heart and Fordham, some of the schools that offered him. But he is going to be one of the most physical DBs that we see in the upcoming season. So I'm excited to see Stewart and Leighton and this whole Moore Catholic offense. But guys, I mean, that's a lot of impressive players in this league that are all still pretty young.
Yeah, outstanding stuff. And how would you like to be Mr. and Mrs. Beelan, right? Like, knowing your 3 sons, you're not paying a dime for their college education, man.
No, certainly not. And they're going to great universities as well. I mean, Duke, obviously, one of the best in the nation. And wherever the rest will land, it's a great testament to their family, to their upbringing, to everything that goes into that. Congratulations to the Beeland family. And here's the thing, too, and we'll obviously move on. It just goes to show that Cardinal Hayes is also a great academic institution as well, because you need to qualify for those schools, and it's not easy to get into a Duke or any other top-tier school like that.
Awesome stuff, Jared. Appreciate your help today and as well throughout the season as well.
Thanks for having me on. Excited for the season.
All right, let's go. So that is your breakdown of some of the individual players, our breakdown of the teams. John will continue after this next break, where we've got the boys from Moore Catholic. They've been knocking on the door of a championship. Can they break it down this year? We'll break that down and more when we return right here. It's the New York Catholic High School Football League Preview Show, all right here on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
You're watching Varsity Media, New York's high school sports network. Feel like your game film is too stagnant and not providing you with the insight that your coaches had hoped for? Varsity Media offers game film to help your coaches develop a game plan to execute on game day. Our current clients love the Varsity Media difference, which includes more insightful camera angles and a speedy upload process. Start building your championship team today with award-winning individuals at Varsity Media. Looking to grow your business on social media? Let Varsity Media help you. With over 50,000 followers across our platform, sponsor a segment during the broadcast and share it on social media the next day. It's the best of both worlds, as you'll get thousands of plays and your ad will live on the broadcast forever. Contact us today for sponsorship packages by calling 917-470-0864 or emailing varsitymediasponsors@gmail.com. Did you know Varsity Media now offers action photography for all sporting events? Available for individuals or teams, we'll send dedicated photographers down to field level to capture your best moments. Our rates are affordable and our photos will leave you with lasting memories for a lifetime. Contact us today, mention this ad, and get $25 off your first order. Email ben@varsitymedia.net or call 516-403-2050.
Welcome back to Holy Trinity High School. Dylan Butler, John Perez with you here. It's the New York Catholic High School Football League Preview Show. We broke down the AAA, a lot of the players to watch as well. And we move on now to the AA1. And John, at number 1 in the AA1, we showed you those like preseason rankings before. It is the Mavericks of Moore Catholic. And again, as we said before the break, a team not to bring up bad memories, but they got to Mitchell. Last couple of years fell just a little bit shy. A team, though, that is loaded with talent. We just heard Jared talk about so many of their guys. Here you see there at a glance. They are the preseason number 1 in AA1.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not the storybook ending, but I'm sure any other team in the league will take back-to-back finals appearances as well, because it gives you a chance to win that championship as well. We're going to speak to our 2 key players in a second, but this is a loaded Moore Catholic team. I know that they're losing a very good quarterback in John Milkowski, but when you've got RJ Pacheco, you're going to be okay, at least on the offensive side, and a very good lineup in the trenches for the Mavericks.
And when you think about it, too, Milkowski at Sacred Heart now, I mean, a generational guy at Moore, right? 2,000 yards passing, 1,450 yards rushing, 24 combined touchdowns. And you had some big dudes up there as well, right? With Henry Tabansi at Buffalo now and Mashoud Jiwa at LIU. Michael Zay was a terrific talent as well. But listen, this is a team that's a little bit deeper this year. They're a little bit younger. But what do we know about Moore, right? What's their DNA? They are athletic. They will hit you hard. And that's what we're going to see again from these guys this year.
Yeah, and you mentioned even a guy like DJ Stewart, who might be the fastest player on the team. They've just got athletes out there that you can mold into these big-time football players, and has enough talent around them to take that next step and ultimately win those championships.
Moore Catholic has a week 0 matchup at Trinity, PA, which is out by like Harrisburg. That's where Nick Giannatasio, their head coach, is. We hope that he's there by now, because I think their game has already started. It's a long trip from Staten Island out to the Harrisburg area, but we are really pleased to be joined by their DC, their defensive coordinator, Jim Esposito, a former Bishop Ford head coach as well. So a guy who's been in this league. We spoke to Chris Hardard about the tradition as well. Great to see Jim back in this league, the defensive coordinator of Moore. And Jim, we'll start with you as we also have next to Jim. We mentioned Matthias Leighton and Akil Meredith Smith. But, Jim, start with you. Again, a young team, right? But this is a team that, you guys are physical. I know that's the way that you want to play your football, and you're fast. I'd imagine these, as you get the mic there, these are two things that are important for you guys, and something that I'm sure you're seeing in the preseason.
Yes. I think the main thing is we have a really good mix of veterans like these two guys who are leaders, Matthias and Akil, and they're leading the young guys really well. I really feel that we have a chance to be very good on defense because we have a lot of speed, and like you said, so many guys that are commits and have college interests. So, we're looking to improve. It's not a finished product yet, and we'll take it game by game.
I know that you guys are obviously knocking on the door to a championship the last 2 years, but not to bring up sour memories, but what do you think were one or two factors in the reason that you weren't able to accomplish that, and what areas do you want to fix to do that this year?
Well, I was at that. I wasn't coaching last year, but I was at Moore. But I was at that game, the championship game against Holy Trinity, and it was a game that came down to 2 or 3 plays. So we walked off the field with our heads up, and I don't think we have to fix anything. I think we just keep on playing, keep on knocking on the door. And one of these years, the door's going to go down.
It very well could be this year, and maybe a big reason why is the gentleman to your left, Matthias Leighton, an Army commit as well. So we always appreciate that. Certainly a guy who was going to the Service Academy. So congratulations first on that commitment. You are, according to Coach Giannatasio, the only guy who will be that full-time two-way player, right? I mean, it's something that obviously health-wise you guys are trying to have more one-way guys, but you will impact the game on both sides as an athlete on the offensive side, where you had 524 yards receiving a year ago, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. You've been a part of this for a couple years now, as has Akil. What are you seeing from this group in the preseason?
I'm seeing our group come together collectively. We're growing as a team together. We got new faces coming in from all over, from Jersey, from all over Staten Island, all over New York. We're just coming together collectively.
What do you think it is about the Staten Island athlete that makes you guys a little bit different and gives you that edge to compete against some of these programs that have more numbers on their roster, might have different facilities, things of that nature?
We know that we're a small group, so we got to bring it to them, bring it to the other teams as much as we can, just to show them that we're not just some small guys from Staten Island.
Well, one guy who is not a small guy from Staten Island is the gentleman to your left, Akil Meredith Smith, a guy at left guard, a Bowling Green commits. Congratulations, Akil, on that as well. It's a young offensive line. You're the anchor, man. You're that old the old dog on that group. What is it like to be that anchor and to help sort of mold these guys? You've been through the trenches. You've been through all these plays, all these preseasons. To take that leadership role this year, how big is that?
I mean, that's really, really big. I'm just trying to lead, show them how to work hard, and just trying to get us to be the best that who we could be. Yeah.
You guys had a couple of good runners in the backfield last year. Obviously, RJ, John Mikowski can run as well. I'm curious, as somebody who's on the line and blocking for them, how much of a challenge can it be at times, and how did you rise to the challenge? What led you to rise to that challenge to protect those guys? Because they didn't get knocked down in the backfield a lot, and the big reason for that was for you and the rest of the guys in the trenches.
We could rise to the challenge because we have some guys who can make plays, and that really helps to know that you have someone who can score if I just make this one block,
Matthias, we mentioned week 0 road trip for you guys right away at Trinity, at PA. But I would be remiss not to ask you about the big one. And here you see their schedule as well. Cornell, Egan, Christ the King, but then that next game in white. Listen, I know that. Listen, the Coach Espo will tell you take it one practice at a time. You take it one game at a time. But listen, it's Farrell. It's on the road. It's the Lions Den on a Friday night after beating them at home last year. How exciting will this matchup be for you?
This will be very exciting because we won in overtime to a field goal, so it was a close matchup. But I feel like we're gonna bring it to them this time at their home and beat them with no excuses.
You heard it right there. They're going to beat the Lions at the Lions Den, which will be an electric atmosphere. By the way, I'd be remiss not to say quarterback this year. A lot of these other programs where they had that big stud QB who graduated, there's still a quarterback competition. Not the case at Moore. James Matera was the backup last year. Really didn't get the reps, right, because Mikowski was just a beast. He played injured all the time. Only 2 attempts a year ago for Matera, but he's that guy who will bring that element. And like John, like so many other more guys, he's that linebacking mentality and the quarterback position like Mikowski was. So he brings the run element. He'll bring the live arm. So they'll be just fine in that position as well.
And he brings an intricate knowledge, too, of the defense as well, having played on the defensive side as well. He knows what to look for, and that's only going to make him better as a gunslinger. Jim
Esposito, Matthias Leighton, Akil Meredith-Smith, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for making the long trip as well from island to island. We appreciate it, and we wish you the best of luck this year as well. So that's more Catholic, guys, and we'll take a look now as we continue on in our preview. And we take a glance at another team that won a championship a year ago, the Knights of Xavier. Chris Stevens, year number 22 at the helm, a Xavier graduate as well. And listen, Jared mentioned before Mehdi Marah, the senior, the fullback. What a year that Marah had a year ago. 101 carries, 833 legs, tree trunks as thighs. This guy is massive. But what you love about Xavier is, you lose a Shane Zeltowski, that two-way. You can't even call him a quarterback in their they play that old school single wing. He's that two-back, they call him in that position. He was great. Gavin Gallagher at wing back was terrific as well, 900 yards. Matty Lane was a AA2 lineman of the year. But then you just get the next guys in. You see Chris Stevens in the back of that, in the shadow there of holding the trophy. You got Sean Cull coming in. He backed up Zalotowski a year ago. You have Ratu Navadi. He was injured a year ago. He'll play at Villanova. Joe Della Vecchia at D tackle. Amir Yuxel at linebacker. And then the free safety cornerback combination of Tommy Diaz and Benny Loria. Listen, what you'll say about these guys, about Xavier, is it is a system. And it is so hard for anyone to play against Xavier. Like, you know what you're going to get. It's going to be a single wing. It's going to be running. It's going to be misdirection and deception. And I think when you deal with that kind of a team, it's hard to prepare. We had a conversation with Mario Valentini leading right into that game last year, and he said, we don't do this every day, right? We don't play single wing. So how do you replicate it at practice? A big advantage that Xavier has week in and week out.
And if you remember in that game, the first play was not a false start. It was an offside because of the hard snap count. And then they scored 2 plays later, and it looked like it was going to be a Xavier route. Mount came back. Ultimately, Xavier went on to win their championship, which Chris Stevens says, what does he say? It's a decade occurrence, right? Once every 10 years. First championship since that Hurricane Sandy team. Xavier is loaded, and it also helps when you've got a nationally ranked rugby squad as your football team.
Absolutely, and that's the other different wrinkle that you get from Xavier, right? A lot of these other teams, you've got lacrosse and or it's even wrestling, right, as that carryover or going from there. This is a different situation. It is rugby, which fits in perfectly to the single wing as well, right? So another advantage certainly that they have.
It certainly helps. I mean, there's certainly a ton of disadvantages for Xavier. They don't have a home field. They're playing in this wacky offense, but they seem to make it work and have a title to show for it.
And at the end of the year, they play in the Turkey Bowl, a game that we'll have as well for you on the Varsity Media Sports Network. Let's take a look at a glance at our next team that we will preview. It is the Royals of Christ the King. A different year this year as well for them. A new coaching staff, some new leadership there as well, some new players. 1-9. That was in the AAA last year, so now they're in AA1, looking to build something new there. And listen, we know all about Christ the King. You know all about Christ the King as an alum as well. There's been some really special, talented players and teams in the past, and that's what kind of ground zero they're looking to do from here.
Yeah, and I think that there's a total upside for Christ the King as well. They've got the athletes to do so. I think what's kind of cool is that they're playing under the radar, so exactly what we're going to get out of Christ the King, a lot of opponents do not know, and I think the Royals like that because now they could show them off a little bit as well. Christ the King always has the athletes. They've always got the numbers, and can't wait to see how the Royals put it together this year.
See, one of the guys who left last year playing high-level Division I football as well, Tyreek Blanding, 4-year starter, 2-year captain as well, a guy who helped set the tone for the guys this year. And we have the Royals in the house as well. We've got their co-defensive coordinator, Benjamin Krause, along with Lathan Hudson and new Royal as well. In between those two guys, I would say, is Hubert Hendrickson III. So, Ben, we'll start with you a little bit. Preseason, I'm sure it's a lot of teaching moments. It's a lot of, maybe beginning part of this playbook on both sides. What does the preseason look like for you?
The preseason's been great. I played in this league over a decade ago, won 2 championships at St. Anthony's, and trying to bring that knowledge of what it takes to bring a championship, the coaching, the scheme, and the guys have really, taken to it. They haven't really had much of a playbook before this, and now that we have one, they're kind of soaking it up like a sponge. And, we had a nice showing at 7-on-7, and we're just looking to build on that with the new pieces like BJ we've added. We have a couple others, and we're just looking to take off and run with it.
What are some similarities and differences that you've seen from a year ago at your time with the Friars that you want to bring to Middle Village?
The toughness. These kids have really wanted to work. They've bought into understanding that you don't just show up, you got to put in the work to get there. And the attention to detail. Every day, last year, there wasn't really much detail. Now they're really noticing the little things is what makes the difference about, winning a championship or, going on a run where you lose a few in a row that you think you could have won.
I'd imagine for you guys as well, as you Coach could pass the mic along. I mean, to be in this AA1 and maybe not have that spotlight on you guys, how does that feel to sort of be able to maybe come up as an underdog this year? We'll start with you, Lathan, with that.
I feel as though that this is the perfect place to start out under our new coaching system. But as you can see with our strength of schedule, we're pretty much playing AAA ball.
Yeah.
So it's AA ball, but there is no break. It is still AAA difficulty, 100%.
Lathan, I have a ton of stock. Hubert, I've got a ton of stock, right, on me, and I want to invest it. I want to invest it in Christ the King. You are doing that. Why should everyone else out there invest in Christ the King this year, and what makes you guys so special?
Christ the King is a family. They're dogs. We work hard. We don't take nothing for granted. When we want something, we'll get it. Because, like you all said, we're underdogs, and when you bet against Christ the King, you'll win 100%.
And what was it about the coaching staff that drew you to transfer over towards Christ the King?
Man, Coleman, right there.
He's offset right now, but yeah, James Coleman. Listen, first-year head coach, but there's a saying at Christ the King: once a Royal, always a Royal. That is true of him as well. Played at Buffalo, a 2012 graduate as well. That's a great leader of men for you, huh?
Coleman is a coach. Is like I don't even look at him like a coach. Like, he's very outgoing. He really wanted me on the team. He really would help me out for anything. Appreciate that, Coach.
Yeah. Let's take a look, and you know, Lathan, you mentioned the schedule, right? Let's take a look on the screen there, and there you see it, right? First, nice little Queens rivalry, right? Even though it's on the island, it should be a lot of fun against St. Francis Prep. And like you said, look, Moore, we just talked about them, right? The team to beat in AA1. You've got Kellenberg, St. Anthony's, Hayes. Yes, these are AAA teams, man.
Well, you know, we played a lot of these guys last year. Got a lot of good looks. But at the end of the day, we got to, you know, not look at the past, you know, look forward to these new opponents.
I'll tell you what, John, we see a lot of their basketball team. I think if they need a big man in the middle with some high IQ, Coach Arbs, if you're watching, and Lathan's your guy.
I think Lathan's the guy. I think also if you need a book to be narrated or a nice song, he's got a nice silky smooth voice as well.
Yeah,
so
he could join us on some broadcasts.
It doesn't have to be an athlete for your whole life. You've got a career right here as well.
Thank you.
So Benjamin Krause, co-defensive coordinator, Hubert Hendrickson, as well as, of course, as Lathan Hudson. We thank you guys so much for joining us, and we wish you the best of luck as well.
Thank you.
This season. So those are the Royals of Christ the King. We appreciate them also making the trip. You made the trip from Queens, but not easy to come all the way from Middle Village in the summer to Long Island. So
it helps when it's a little cloudy, so there's no beach traffic, and yeah, you know, the Grand Central, you got to do what you got to do. Just hang out there.
We mentioned before Mario Valentini. What a great story this is. I think if this is like the Disney Channel, right, and you're doing a story of the year in the Catholic League, it's got to be Mount winning a championship this year, right? Mario Valentini, a legend of a head coach in his 40th and final season at the helm. They got so close a year ago, losing to Xavier, and they're looking to do it again in AA2. You see their record last year, a lot of young guys who now have that experience. Mark Pearson leading the way, Jonathan Otu as well, 2 seniors this year, and Pearson was such a terrific talent for them, the AA2 Offensive Player of the Year. Tyler Bobe as well with 500 yards running. You lose a Jabril Carter, who was a special talent for them, a Special Teams Player of the Year in AA2. Tyler Cadenhead as well. But listen, there is up there on Murdoch Avenue in the Bronx, there's some special juju, if you will, right? Like this is, if there's a year to win it, man, and win it for the legend of Mario Valentini, this is the year.
They've got opportunities to do so, win that championship. You'd love to win your league, and then obviously the Triple Crown, winning the Turkey Bowl against Cardinal Hayes. It's all on the table, and like you said, that storybook Disney-type ending.
So last but not least is another team that has made noise, and they've done it with their athletes, with a terrific coaching staff as well, and they made a shorter trip here than some others, but St. John the Baptist, another team too that they've gotten to the last day of the regular season. They received their record a year ago, 7-3, preseason number 11. You lose, again, everyone in this league, the talent is so rich that you're going to lose guys. Remarkably, I think this helps for the coaching staff, for Coach Alba as well. You can make one trip to Cortland and you can catch 3 of your dudes, right? You can get Eli Alvarez, Jason Ziva, Patrick Maloney as well. All those guys playing now at Cortland. Sean Dennehy was a terrific player, but these guys have 8 returning starters on offense, the entire offensive line, and 8 returning starters on defense. That is a good starting point for these guys.
It's a good starting point. I know that there's going to be some scrambling on the offense as well, but I know Coach Alba and the rest of the crew are up for the challenge, and don't sleep on the Cougars this year. They're going to be a tough out, a lot of fun to watch, and they've got probably 2 of the best athletes, not just on Long Island, but the rest of the Catholic League as well, and I know we're going to be talking to them shortly.
Yeah, we have them here too. But first, the mic is with Phil Alba, 5th year as the head coach, but you're a part of this program for such a long time. Thanks for joining us, as always. And there's got to be a lot of excitement out in West Islip for this team this year.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for having us, and thank you for just promoting Long Island football and really the Catholic League. So we appreciate it very much.
Yeah, no, we're glad to do it. Like we said, you lose terrific guys that you love, guys that you're now excited to look forward to, but you turn the page with some special athletes.
No doubt. I was just texting Pat Maloney and Jason and Eli, actually, while we were sitting here waiting. So they might be watching. If you guys are watching,
there we go.
Hope you're doing well. Great guys that left, and, we are a senior-rich team this year. We've got a lot of great, capable guys, 2 of them sitting right next to me, and we're excited. We're excited to see what we can put together this year.
Coach, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. You've got a new starting quarterback as well, Kevin Pileski. I know that he has been lighting up 7-on-7s, and even though that's 7-on-7s, you have to be encouraged by him and what you've seen out of the rest of your offense so far.
Yeah, Kevin's worked really hard all summer long. Really, we've been together a lot, doing a lot of 7-on-7 type stuff. If it was a 7-on-7 league, I'd be like uber confident. But I always say that's not real football. So we'll see what the real football looks like. But Kevin's done well, and I think coverage-wise, we've covered well, and we have receivers that can definitely get open.
And Pileski last year as well got his feet wet, got 500 yards passing as well, 5 touchdown passes. So he's a little more comfortable now in the offense as well, so it's going to be fun to watch him in his first full season at the helm. And as you mentioned, listen, when you pass it along, whether it's 7-on-7 or pads, Michael Wheat to your left, the senior, he's got a Bentley offer, more certainly to come. This is a dude that lights it up, John. I mean, look at his stats last year: 863 yards, 11 touchdowns. That's throwing the football. 58 carries, 400 yards, 53 tackles, and an interception on the other side. Mike, we saw a little bit of a glimpse, right, of what you can bring last year. I'd imagine you and DJ next year, you're excited about this year as well.
Yeah, man, we're definitely excited. We got a lot of returning guys, and we got some new pieces to our team, and I think this year is going to be a special year. I think we're a very complete team, offensively and defensively, and we're all working together. We're all excited to just ball out the season.
As you transition from quarterback to athlete now, and knowing that you're going to have your hand in a little bit of everything, how do you step up to that challenge? How do you make yourself better?
Being very critical on myself, and also watching a lot of film, studying a lot. Obviously this offseason I've been working on my DB skills. Got to give a shout out to Tony Jones, my DB coach. But this coaching staff has done an amazing job helping me transition to different positions, and I'm super grateful to be a part of this team, and a lot of mental work, learning the running back position and really becoming elite at the safety position. But I also have to keep in mind that I might be throwing the ball 1 or 2 times, and just being a master of all.
Hey, don't give away too much of that playbook, man.
Oh, definitely not.
But listen, whether it's on the offensive side, we mentioned that offensive line, Lee Webber, maybe anchoring that, another returning guy, right? And defensively, Brandon Rains and Lucas Skoda. We hand it now to DJ Lisbon as well. Another guy, too. You can impact it on both sides of the ball. But then to know you've got definitely a returning quarterback and maybe another guy there, too, who can get you the football. 18 receptions, 374 yards, and 3 touchdowns. But that was just last year. This year, I'm sure you're super pumped up as well.
Yeah, definitely very excited to be a part of this team. Yeah, really excited to have a breakout year this year. Me and the team, me and Kev, me and Mike, we just have a lot of chemistry this year. I feel like we're going to get to that point where we can show what we can really do.
And I'm kind of curious what the differences are in that chemistry as well, because, it's on the back of your jersey, Michael, right? Brotherhood. How has it felt more like a brotherhood this year as opposed to last year?
Well, I feel like we've bonded a lot more. We come together. The chemistry is just very, very strong. We've been just working in and out, day in, day out, maybe after hours, just working together, just building each other stronger.
And Mike, I'd imagine too, as we kind of wrap up here, you more Catholic is number one, understandably, right? Being in the championship game, I'd imagine you kind of like not having that, right? Like a little extra chip on the shoulders as you do 2-a-days, as you do those extra reps.
Yeah, I know. It was a tough feeling after that game. I knew personally I had more to give, and not like we mentally weren't giving it our all. I think we just didn't have our day there, and
in building a program, you're going to have growing pains, and there's going to be times where you get close to what you want, but you don't get it. And, we've worked on those growing pains. We've learned what we need to do to get better. And, it's definitely a chip on our shoulder, and definitely excited to see them, hopefully in the playoffs or in the championship.
We look at your schedule now as we go ahead and a week 0 matchup, Sachem North, and then St. Peter's, Fordham, and then some high-level talent, John, as well, right? AAA opponents in Farrell, in Chaminade, in Holy Trinity now as well.
Yeah, no, it's not an easy schedule. I know that Coach Al was ready for that, and I think it's a good litmus test for the Cougars because it'll bolster them for the playoffs, which is obviously the ultimate goal for them. And listen, like we mentioned how good the AAA is, there's no easy outs, and for the Cougars, they're going to go right through it, and it's going to be fun to watch how it shapes them for their playoff run.
And the Cougars made the trip here today to Hicksville. They'll make another one on October 14th. This should be so much fun. 1:30 Saturday afternoon. We will be here. We know the Cougars will be here as well. Always entertaining when St. John the Baptist and Holy Trinity play. And this one will, again, I think, live up to that expectation, John.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Like they said, they enjoy being under the radar, but it's going to be interesting to see where both teams shake out and where they are now. It's easy to make a lot of proclamations on August 25th, but October 14th, a different day, and I think we'll start to get a feel for the league and obviously the Cougars.
Speaking of the Cougars, Phil, Mike, DJ, thanks so much for joining us again. We wish you the best of luck during this season, and we'll obviously see you as well during the regular season and playoffs as well.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it very much.
All right. Those are the Cougars from St. John the Baptist, and we'll take a quick break, wrap up this show in a bow. It is the New York Catholic High School Football League preview show, and that's right here on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
You're watching the Varsity Media Sports Network, the home for New York high school sports. Hey sports fans, did you know Varsity Media live stream broadcasts get viewed by college coaches nationwide? Through our announcers' storytelling and insight on your athletes, we can help your players get an edge on college recruiting. Find out how by reaching out to Varsity Media today, 516-403-2050, or email ben@varsitymedia.net.
When it comes to advertising, are you hitting the right audience? Why waste your time with television or a free print publication that's given out at a local deli? Varsity Media has your back. With a following of over 50,000 and a local demographic ranging between the ages of 18 and 54 years old, it's time to get that return on investment. Plus, here's the best part. Your ad lives forever on our YouTube page. And with a large on-demand audience, it's a grand slam to advertise with Varsity Media.
Varsity Media offers live streaming services for any sport. With human beings behind the camera, you can expect the proper coverage angles during each game. We offer customizable options such as live scoreboard, multiple cameras, instant replay, graphics, and even announcers. Find out how you can save $100 off a live stream package with Varsity Media by calling 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net.
Back here at Holy Trinity High School, that football will be thrown a few times this year. It is the Catholic High School Football League preview show, and we are deep in the fourth quarter here. We told you all the key players, the key teams, key matchups, a lot to look forward to this year. Dylan Butler, John Perez.
Yeah, you could sense the excitement for all of these teams, regardless of where they were in their rankings. Everybody is 0-0 again. It's going to be a fun season. I'm excited for a lot of parity in the AAA. It's fun to watch St. Anthony's have the run that they did last year, but Let's be honest with you, it'd be nice to have teams 1 through 8 all competing and being in those close games. So that's going to be great. And then you move down to the 2 AA's. St. John the Baptist, Michael Wheat just said, there is so much more to give. And I feel that there are so many teams out there that feel like they've got so much more to give. Christ the King, there's a lot of chips on the shoulder there, a lot of transfers, new players for the Royals. St. Francis Prep, we didn't mention. That's another team that's kind of flying under the radar. We'll see them a few times on our air this year. And then I can't wait for the Staten Island matchup September 22nd right here on the Varsity Media Sports Network. More Catholic and Farrell, not just because we're carrying that game, but the Staten Island teams always make a ruckus, always make some noise. It's going to be a fun league this year, and you can't sleep on anybody.
And that is one of our upcoming matchups to show. And listen, a lot of the Varsity Media, we've been there on a Friday night at Farrell. It is special. The Varsity Media crew and you guys at home will enjoy that. Here's a look. We start 8 days from now. Coach calls coming up. Coach Minucci, you are up. You're going to get a call, I think, about Tuesday morning or so for the Del Barton St. Anthony's game. Always fun there. And then Christ the King, St. Francis Prep. Should be fun as well. And the Cardinals of Cardinal Hayes, CJ is going to bring his band of athletes to Cy Donnelly Field. And then it's Iona heading to Chaminade. You heard about the Flyers and what they think they can do this year. And then it's those fun Battle of the Bridge matchups. St. Joe's, Montvale, St. Anthony's, Paramus Catholic, and Chaminade. And that's just the first 2 weeks, John.
It's going to be an exciting slate of football this year, particularly in the Catholic League. And then there's the rest of the slate. So you get the Battle of Staten Island, Iona Prep, St. Anthony's. I think it's great having a ton of St. Anthony's home games this year, but also you've got the best rivalry on Long Island, regardless of the sport. St. Anthony's and Chaminade. Follow that up with the Flyers and the Firebirds, SJB, along with Holy Trinity the following week. And then the Battle of the Boulevard taking place in Uniondale in the shadow of Nassau Coliseum. And it all comes to a head in the championships, which we'll have on Varsity Media, followed up by the Turkey Bowl.
The granddaddy of them all, Xavier and Fordham, year number 100 of that. Rose Hill, man, in the Bronx, Thursday morning. It'll be incredible. Ben Turchin will cook the turkey. We'll have it on the set. It'll be a fun day, certainly, up in the Bronx.
Just don't eat it.
Yeah, no. It's just for the set. It's just for the set.
Yeah.
What an incredible show we had. We thank, of course, all the coaches and players for joining us here and all their cooperation. Of course, Chris Hardart as well, the president of the league, and also helping to provide a host as the athletic director here as well. And I want to thank, of course, our entire crew as well. All the hardworking guys, Ben Turchin as well, wearing many hats, Chris Sweeney and Ron Pierre, bringing you all that technical directing, Jared Beluzzi. Listen, we saw him on set, but he was a runner too, man. I saw him getting his steps in, trying to get all these guys on set. For John Perez, I'm Dylan Butler. We thank you so much for joining us here from Holy Trinity High School. John Perez just completed the first pass of the Catholic Football League season to Turchin. That'll do it here from Hicksville. We thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next on the Varsity Media Sports Network.